You sound like you really love what you do.
I do. I like the grind.
I know
like
when you give like specific examples sometimes or whatever, but it just sounds like so miserable. I come home and I'm tired. I know it's just an example, but it's funny. It's just funny.
Why would I not come home and have known that I like gave it everything I got? Hey, look, life is not easy. Anything good worth having isn't easy, but add to that the complexity of being an entrepreneur, being married, having children. We have done a lot of things right. We made a few $1 million. We probably lost a few $1 million. We made some mistakes along the way, but one thing that we are really good at is relationships.
That's right. We have been together for almost 2 decades.
And we've been through hell and back together.
Yeah, we have. And we used to think that we were the only ones like us out there.
But, especially in our entrepreneurial ventures, we started meeting other ride or die couples that were going through the exact same things that we were going through. And they kept coming to us talking about advice and looking for solutions and really ways to help their relationship thrive. So we just knew there had to be a tribe of us out there. There's no way we could be the only ones out there.
We are getting real and raw, guys.
That's what he said.
Oh my God, babe. From dating to marriage to kids and even sex.
Even how to fight the right way.
We're gonna be committed to being open and honest with you because we believe in your relationship too. Welcome to the Ride or Die podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 115. This week, we're talking about egos, which is, you'll soon learn, has been a lifetime struggle for me. We're going to kind of dive deep into that, which has been inspired by the new book, The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman. This dude's a beast. He is basically got his career start training, peak performance, like training for Olympic athletes, entertainers, celebrities, on and on and on and on, right? Kind of like a Tony Robbins world if you don't understand peak performance stuff. This book is awesome because, let me just give you one little story or question that was in this book that kind of, for me, wrapped the whole book up. And you'll have to read the book to kind of dive deeper into it. But he talked about, let me set up a scenario. You're driving in the car, your windows down, music is on, and you're like jamming, or you're in the gym and you're bumping the Bose speaker and you're feeling yourself, right? You're in it, right? You feel like Superwoman, or you feel like a badass. Am I right? That's why I like rap and hip hop for that reason, because I listen to certain, I don't like this stupid stuff, all right? So I'll probably sound like an old man if I mention all the artists that I don't like today, but there's a lot of like hip hop that I listen to because I like that like don't give a fuck attitude. I like that come from the bottom storyline, because as non-thuggish as I look, deep down, as my buddy Pierre Evans said, everybody got a little thug in them. Because I did come from the bottom. I came from a rough area. So when I hear messages like that, when I hear people kind of stepping in their greatness in that field, like I like channel it. You know what I mean? Like I relate, right?
Gotcha.
So he talks in the book about about Superman. So who's the real person? Is it Superman or is it Clark Kent? And just that one message I know is going to be with me for like ever, because many people would say, well, the real guy is Clark Kent, right? But the story is, right, if you watch the movie Superman, he's like an alien or something and crashed down onto Earth and then disguised himself as Clark Kent so that he would go unnoticed and kind of fit in, right? And the book argues that that's what a lot of us do.
That we're all Supermen disguising ourselves?
Exactly. That is 1,000% been the way that I've showed up in most areas of life, like especially in the professional world.
Well, that's vulnerable.
It is. That's how I want everybody to love me. I'm the nice guy. Everybody trusts me, and it works for me to an extent. But the truth is, I'm Superman. When I wake up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and I hit the gym and I put my music in, like I am a beast and I am all freaking Superman. And then the day starts and I gotta be a little different for this environment, a little different for this environment. And he talks about...
That's funny because your personality tests, weren't you a chameleon?
Exactly.
Adapting to your scenarios.
Right.
That you're in. I'm not.
But what I'm learning that is really
not a chameleon.
tricky about that is he talks about the field of play. So the field of play is how you show up. I don't show up necessarily, I don't want to show up as like a beast when I'm playing with my 4 and 5-year-old, right? I got to show up different in that field of play, right? You don't show up in, well, maybe you show up in the bedroom as, you know, Superman, not Clark Kent, right?
Well, so I'll show up as a beast, but not Superman.
Right. So just think about that. If you had just like reflect later when you're looking in the mirror, like, are you Superman or Superwoman, or are you, you know, Clark Kent? Who's the real person? And he found that a lot of, not just the people he trained, but when he started talking to other celebrities, sports people, high performers, that was kind of like a untold secret. Like they all talked about how when they got on their field of play, whether it was their sport or acting, they used Beyonce, right? Beyonce created Sasha Fierce because you see her in interviews and she's all like,
very
you're the first
timid.
one to tell me about that about her. I'm like, yeah, I feel more like Beyonce in an interview than like that's very uncomfortable to be like Sasha Fierce. You know, like I can't believe how like extreme she goes from like this to this, but when she's got to be on, she's on.
Michael Jackson was the same way.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So very interesting book, very simple principles, great stories. So check this book out, Alter Ego by Todd Herman. Read anything by Todd Herman. His 90-Day Year is awesome too for my entrepreneurs out there who struggle with prioritizing and planning and stuff. So yeah, I set it up. I pretty much gave away like half the nuggets, but I wanted to talk about egos because by default, I am turned off by, and I've said this before, by mostly guys with big egos. Like it just rubs me the wrong way, always has.
Which is so interesting because I actually think that's the one thing that holds you back or makes you do things slower in a sense, like in our business and our career, which is... Siri wants to join in today. But yeah, like when I push you, I'm probably that little bit of that aggressive Superman, right? And I'm like, come on, like.
You could be Superwoman because we just watched that movie and she's just super hot. So
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Oh, she's super hot. Yeah, she that was great casting. Anyway, okay, so Wonder Woman, like
You're my Superwoman. Is that a song?
What song is that?
I don't know, it's Superwoman song.
I mean, you carry the tune so well. I should know right off the top of my head.
An artist.
Oh, Alicia Keys. Yes, she is. I know which one it is now. Anyway, I feel like I see that in you more than you see that in yourself, though. So that's interesting. Like, I see that you are fully capable of this alter ego. And the funny thing is, like, I don't look at other people that you call it ego, but I just like to say that it's confidence. And I think that it's just like reframing your mind to look at it a little bit differently, because when you are like that, you're actually extremely sexy. There is a very attractive quality about a man that like takes command and takes control of his situations and goes in and are master negotiators or are really good teachers and are really honest and raw about like the things that happen in their life, and they do it in a way that inspires and impacts other people. And that doesn't actually mean, like, I think you just had, for me, I know that you just had a couple bad experiences with people, and they made you have this bad taste in your mouth, and you characterize it as ego, but in retrospect, it's just their own character flaws.
It's my story.
Like, they get on stage and there's something different than they are off stage. Now, you actually are more flavorful in the house than you are on stage. I think you almost like want to underplay as great as you are in your business or in.
Let's not make this podcast all about me.
On stage. Well, no, I'm just saying, like, the whole ego part of it is such an interesting topic for me, because I see this in you, that you actually say, like, what you call ego is actually like your kryptonite, because it's your most powerful characteristic about yourself that you don't even like see. So I just think it's a funny topic for you to bring up. Like, did you bring?
I'm learning.
You still struggle with it. Like,
What's
you'll
the
look
point
at
of saying I'm learning?
He's getting defensive. I thought I'd be the defensive one when you brought up this topic, because we could talk about, like, I'm such a feeler. So we've talked before, like, Brandon and I have talked before about how can somebody, this is Brandon, not me, how can somebody be an actress and, like, completely, like, look like they're in love with somebody else on camera and then go back to their lives? And I've been in acting before, where I've had to, like, make pretend I was in love, and I was in an all-girls school, so I'm, like, saying I'm in love with a girl, which is not my sexual preference, and we have to make it, like, super believable, right? It's just in a moment when you can just put your mind or put yourself there, you really can do anything, and it doesn't mean that you're, like, in love with that person you're on screen with, which is what I try to explain to Brandon. Like,
that's your field of play. So in that moment, you have to show up differently than...
Yeah, and when somebody's going, you know what, I'll pay you $50,000 an episode, you go, cool. Like, you're not, like I told Brandon, like, if I was a famous actress, which is, like, what my dream was when I was a little girl, like, I wanted to grow up and be famous, and I never thought in that realm of thinking that I would grow up and, like, not get married because I was an actress that had to kiss somebody on camera. Like, I knew all those things were going to happen because you can see it. Like, grew up on Dirty Dancing. Like, you would think that those guys were meant to be, right? Mm-hmm. What is it? Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. The poor two people, like, he actually is, like, having a baby or something with his girlfriend, and, like, people are literally on social media saying that they wished Lady Gaga and him were together. Like, they sell it so well and make it so believable.
Stars Born, that was a great movie.
And I think they're just digging in their alter ego of what love is for them, or how to feel that love so passionately, and they're just bringing it to the set with the script, and they're able to provide a really impactful performance. And I think that's what we're all doing, is just, it's not so much about bringing something fake to the table, which I think is what you've seen in some of your past, like, things where you've seen things, but it's digging this, like, innerness of you, this, like, lion that you might hold back, and, like, just letting it come out, which I feel like I have an easier time doing than you.
It is a slippery slope.
Slippery slope. Say that 10 times fast.
Let's be real. I think not everybody uses their ego in a positive, controlled way. I know for a fact, I have seen plenty of people become, wealthy in a short amount of time, and they go through this season of, like, their head is so big. It's usually money. I'm not saying everybody with money has an ego.
Well, because money buys
stupid.
things.
But let's just say they went from, nothing to making multi-millions. That just kind of, and people start treating you differently, and people start boosting your ego and gassing you up. Naturally, it can create an area where it can create an ego that shows up in a field of play that it shouldn't. For example, if you think that you're, like, untouchable and you're, God's greatest gift, well, maybe to your company and to your employees you are, and so you show up and you're like, you've got a big ego here, but then, like, you're having tea with your daughter or something, you're a 5-year-old, like, you don't necessarily walk in with that same, like
machismo?
Yeah.
Like, but that's the field of play, right?
It's a different field of play, so you've got to show up like
But that doesn't mean that person's...
a pretty princess.
That person doesn't mean that they're being fake when they're in their...
Right.
Like, I can think of somebody off the top of the head. We used to work with them, actually, and he can appear like he has an ego. I would say, business-wise, he makes a lot of decisions that really are just protecting his best interests, not so much the people around him, which is okay, like, if that's what he decides to do. But I will tell you 1,000%, he has a strong marriage, and he is a good father. And those things impact him to make the decisions that he makes. Now, I think we all selfishly kind of come to the money table or the business table with our own interests in mind, not everybody else around us. I think it's a fair statement to say that. And that ego is an attractive quality to people. Like, obviously they're not going to bring you're saying like they can be different when they go to like play tea party with their 5-year-old daughter. Wait, let me finish. Like you bring a different kind of like character, or you even talk a little differently when you're talking to Peyton than when you talk to me. But that's just a different field of play. And what I want to entertain is like, does it actually, like, that doesn't mean that you had a different ego. It's still the same person, but you're just channeling something different that you know is going to impact that one person that you're talking to in that moment. You know what I mean? And that's how I see it. Like, I can talk really strong, like, to adults just because I know you guys get it. Like, we've all gone through the same, like, grinds or hustles to get where we are. We all have battle wounds, and we all have some victories that we can bring to the table to share when we're having, like, really good conversations. And being vulnerable with each other. But I'll tell you, I have a lot easier of a time being vulnerable with my 5-year-old than I do with anybody else.
Right.
And doing this podcast, like, originally, this is like a whole like ego thing, right? Like, I did not want to turn on a camera and be like on and talk about my life and share all these really personal things about me until I started doing it more, and I started seeing how much it was actually helping people. And what started out as just like a hobby to, you know, weekly have this one moment where we get to sit down and
I'm listening. I'm
like
just trying to
purposefully, like, we sit down and talk to each other anyway. But I think we created this podcast in a time where we were so busy, we were just kind of like not having those weekly sit downs, and this was a good way to do it. And it's turned into so much more from there. But we are different now. If you watch like one of our first episodes or first like 10.
Please don't.
Well, I mean, just go look at the difference. We felt so awkward and stuff because we actually were trying to be somebody that we weren't. Now we turn on the thing and we're just ourselves. And of course, we're like a little louder or whatever when we're doing our podcast. I'm sure we are than normal life. Maybe I'm not, but Brandon is. But, you know, like, I just feel like in this whole like thing of ego, like, I think the word ego has such a bad connotation about it. But really, at the end of the day, what it is just like really who you are inside and just letting it be you and being unapologetic. And like those people that you may judge or look at poorly or poorer, sometimes we don't know what's really going on in their house or what they have in their relationships going on, and this is their outlet to really push and inspire people. Sometimes it's completely manipulative and selfish, and you don't really know that until you kind of get like into situations and learn about people more. But what I challenge for everybody watching, including you and I, is when I'm in a situation that I feel like maybe ego drew me in. There was some attractive quality, which I think has happened a lot with us, like especially at the beginning of our entrepreneurial endeavors. Like, we would see somebody that was making money and then and have a pretty girl on their arm, and that's like attractive, right? We're drawn to them. We want to know how they did that. How do they have that lifestyle? And it's natural for you to want to draw people in with that. But once that's all gone, like, really, who are you inside and what are you bringing to the table? And is it of value to people? Because there is this whole side of ego that I think is actually super beautiful. Being really confident in your relationship is something that you've always been really strong on, more than look at me, look at all this money I make, which has been there as well. But you actually don't bring that side out of you at all. Like, it makes you super uncomfortable to talk about how much money we make or whatever. Like, it's just not, it's not as like, I feel like you think you're going to have like fake followers or fake people that want to learn from you. But the reality is there's a whole bunch of Brandon and Sam's that's what they wanted at the beginning. And it's not just about like what you put up front to show people like, hey, you want to come be around me because of X, Y, and Z. But then it's like, what do you have behind that? What's really in you that you can bring out and give value to people, which I think is the secret superwoman or superman quality of the ego aspect that's like in everybody that is like super, super powerful. It's like, what are you bringing to the table after that? And I won't listen to people or...
I mean, like, what do you stand for?
Well, yeah, like, what do you stand for? And like, make sure to bring it out. I'm not going to talk to you like I talk to my 5-year-old. It's just different, right? I'm going to talk to you in a way that I know is going to empower you or impact you. Hopefully, we're husband and wife. Sometimes I get a little tired of doing that, and I'm completely lazy and I don't want to empower you at all, and I'm a crappy wife, but it's very rare, right? But in those moments where, like, if I go into every day thinking like my relationship is the most important thing in my life, like Brandon and I are so important to each other, and we know that this all trickles down to everything. What we have in our relationship is trickling down to our children, to our friendships, to the type of people that we want to work with, to the type of people that we want to sell our products to. Like, it all trickles down, but it all starts here. If this isn't right for us, then nothing else in our life is working right. And we have proven that time and time again for our household, that this is what's right for us, as long as it's right here. But you can easily say, like, anything about our relationship to people, because in your mind, like, that's the ego you want to portray, right? I just feel like you have an easier time coming out and being like the relationship guy. You just are fully confident that you have a good standing marriage and you know things that work in relationships, and you want to see other people succeed in that one area. For some people, you got to remember that, like, ego may come out in different ways. Like, if their field of play just maybe financially, they make a lot of money and they want to show other people how to do it too, because that's brought joy to their life, where like our relationship has brought joy to ours. But I like to see it in all aspects. I like to actually feel the ego everywhere and be super confident in everything.
That's what he's saying. Like, you're bringing a different person to a different field of play. So, it's sitting down with the kid. Okay, perfect example. Just came home from the office, and I was at like war all day, and I'm tired and hungry.
You sound like you really love what you do.
I do. I like the grind.
I know when you give like specific examples sometimes or whatever, but it just sounds like so miserable. I come home and I'm tired. I know it's just an example, but it's funny. It's just funny.
Why would I not come home and have known that I like gave it everything I got in for the work day?
I got you. I'm just teasing.
So I did this yesterday, actually. I'm like,
what'd you do?
So he talks about your phone booth moment, right? So
is that when you would change into your Superman?
Yeah, Clark Kent walked into the phone booth, and he walked out, and he was Superman, right? Brendan Burchard, another peak performance coach, he talks about as he walks through a doorway, like he walks through the doorway, and immediately he uses the doorway as like his like trigger to like
turn on.
Yeah, basically to turn on, to show up. And so that's like, I'm pulling in the driveway, I was playing certain music, to get my head right and kind of just release the stuff from the work day, knowing that like I was coming home late yesterday and I wanted to make sure that the last hour, before the kids went to bed, like I wasn't bringing any of that crap in with me. So I changed my mindset to walking in from the garage. That doorway was another phone booth. And so I didn't think about, being on my phone or wrapping up a couple of things. I plugged my phone in right here, and I left it here. And I have a different, I forgot that I was tired. In that moment, right, I let go of everything else from the day, and I was walking in with almost like a fresh start. And so the kids are awesome, and everyone's in a good attitude, and I'm in a good attitude, which if I'm not in a good attitude, it can quickly change their attitude. So that so I showed up differently.
Having that awareness.
Right? Because like on the drive home, I'm listening to like hardcore music and just like, bah,
you were?
Getting the,
oh my gosh, really? You always knock me for doing that. I was going to talk about that too.
So I came in differently, is all I'm saying.
You came in very pleasant yesterday.
Talking too much. But yeah, the phone booth moments and channeling something else, right?
I feel like maybe I had those moments a lot more often.
To super dad, right? I had to walk through the doors as super dad.
I'm going to get you a present.
And I'm going to continue to
work
that character.
I know you're not a present guy, but I got a present for you. I love this. It's more for Max than anybody else. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
I'll keep you posted.
I want to not get confused with ego and what he talks about as your core self. And when she was giving the example of how I am about our relationship, it's because I'm not worried about sharing anything good, bad, or ugly, because I know it takes work and it's a constant, it's always growing and evolving. It's dynamic. There's no like black and white. And so I know in my heart, at my core self, like who I am and who we are as a team. And I don't worry about anybody challenging that. That will never make me doubt myself or our relationship. So who you are at the core is ultimately like you can show up in different ways, and like I don't bring anything about our relationship into like business. So I'm going to show up differently, but when we're doing this podcast, I'm not worried about nothing because I know who we are at the core. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Cool.
It does. Let's hit on this, like bringing out different sides of your ego, because I love that you were listening to I don't want to know what hardcore was for you on your drive home, but
don't be surprised. It's like rock music, but with a motivational message. Everything was motivational.
Were we listening to NF or something?
No, it was Rob Daly. Check him out on iTunes or
see, I'm the
Apple
complete
Music.
opposite. So I can literally bring out any side of my ego at a drop of a dime. Call it the actress in me. I don't know, but I feel like all I have to do is really channel an emotion for that to trigger the feeling. And I really like to feel. So like music and stuff really helps me get there easily. And that's why when sometimes I tell you, like, I think there was another podcast that I had mentioned that I listen to, like, sometimes I listen to some crazy rock music and you were like, oh, like garbage, blah, blah, blah in your head. But I actually don't like to bring that garbage into my relationship or into the other people in my life. And I can get in my head about things sometimes. And like having that kind of music, it's not that important, honey. Having that kind of music, like, totally does something for me. It helps me like take whatever, like, because if I can think too emotionally on a topic or something, I don't want to lash out at you. So I like the fact that I can like run, feel it, get rid of it, move on. I feel great. Like, it feels so good. I listen to way different rock than you. Mine's like
you listen to like Rob
Trapped
Zombie or something?
Not Rob Zombie, but I listen to, Trapped and some other stuff, like not Aerosmith necessarily, but like Metallica. Like, I'll listen to some pretty good rock music, but some of it's pretty dark or has scary lyrics, which I never realized until I started like really listening to what I was listening to, and I was like, holy crap, no wonder why I was so like wounded when I was 18 years old and like kicked out of my house. Like, listen to what I was listening to. But it's interesting because those things and those moments can just like take me there. And I feel like those things put me on like, I think there's a good and a bad side to everybody's ego. And it keeps me... Duality. So it keeps me in the good side.
You can't have light without dark.
You want good Sam or bad Sam? Because I like to bring good Sam to the table. And even I notice in my friendships and stuff too, like if I just hold too much stuff in or I don't let it out, like it can really affect me. And so one of the ways that I can is like, I totally feel myself in the moment. Sometimes if I don't feel like I'm in my relationship enough, I tell you, you're going to think I'm freaking crazy. So don't start making faces and stuff where I know how you're feeling, or I should like hold up the iPad. But like, if I'm feeling like I'm not bringing enough to my relationship, I will literally take it there where like, you died or I died. And it is like...
I'll put your perspective in check real quick.
It's pretty dark. I'm not like wanting Brandon to die or me to die, but just like I can sit by myself if nobody else is home with me and for a good 5 or 10 minutes think about what life would be like without you in it, or if I wasn't around. Done. I'll bawl my eyes out, I'll feel like shit and go, okay, I'm ready to put some effort into my relationship now. But it's like, not that I didn't want to put the effort in, but sometimes I just need to kick myself in the ass about like what that pain is.
Boost.
I need the pain in order to get to the pleasure more than I think you like to feel the pleasure more than the pain. I'm the opposite. Like, I think it's just my upbringing and the way I grew up, and I felt a lot of pain and know that I don't like it. And so I fight to not feel pain, but I don't fight if I don't feel pain. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so our relationship is so good as a whole that I struggle to feel the pain sometimes, to want to like really fight for our business and our family and stuff. And I gotta just take myself there sometimes.
That's not crazy.
You don't think it's crazy?
No.
I think you were gonna look at me like I was freaking loony. You thinking about me dying?
We are driven faster away from pain than we are towards pleasure. And we've talked about this before. I think it's a lot harder to go from good to great than it is to go from, or we survive, strive, and thrive. So if you're just barely surviving, like there's a different level of like animal instinct and fire and like I'm gonna show them or whatever it is that pushes you to do stuff when you don't feel like doing it. But when you're like striving, you're already like, you're good, you're comfortable, you're you know, middle of the road. To push yourself to get uncomfortable, to get up to great or to thriving, that's actually a lot harder, because you almost have to, like you said, you have to create pain, not in a bad way. Like I purposely go in the gym and I like get myself angry to push up the damn weight a little bit more, or, you know, run on the treadmill a little longer, because I need to feel that pain in order to know that like I'm growing, right? I need to put that fight in me. And, you know, when you're just comfortable, it's a lot harder to just be like, oh, this house is nice, but I'm gonna get so fired up because I want an even nicer house, or like I've got a nice new truck and you've got the BMW, like, ooh, I'm gonna work so hard because I want a Lamborghini. Like, no, that just doesn't do it. The pleasure, even though that is more pleasurable, it doesn't drive enough to...
Well, things are not as much of a driving force for you.
But I think about, yes, if I die young, have I done enough for my kids and set my family up enough that they'd be fine without me? I start thinking that way, and then I'm like, nope, haven't done enough, time to go. Don't get comfortable here. We got stuff to do. But anyway, I don't know how we got off the rails on that one from ego. But.
We didn't. I think this is all really part of it, because I think ego is such like a general term that really it's something within us. I don't know how much of that we lost on the video, but at least we got the audio for it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I also just want to throw in real fast that when you can be struggling in an area, you really just got to go out and trust the people in your inner circle, or, you know, have a coach, or trust your partner, which for me is like the biggest thing for us. You're totally shaking me. It's making me nervous.
I'm shaking you?
Yeah. That's why I did this. I know that you trust me enough that I can tell you when I see what I think are faults in you, right? Like, not faults, but maybe like areas of improvement. Like, I know I see more in you than you're seeing in yourself here. And I don't ever mind when other people validate it. I think we need validation from multiple places before we really want to change something about ourselves. And I've seen you do this consistently over years. Not that I haven't done it. You're just an easy target, because a lot of it we can just think about in the business and how shy you were at the beginning to like where you know your value is at now, and how I even think that your value is higher and greater than you think you are to other people and impacting their lives. And it's just this like constant, like, it's what I think is like climbing up the ladder, I guess, in your career and your entrepreneurial endeavors, is like you constantly battling this within yourself and finding it. Me never giving up on showing you that I believe that you have it, and then you get this like other validation from other people. You know, I can think of like 3 different examples right off the top of my head of things recently where my opinion on something may be super strong on how it should go or why it should go that way. And you may not like hear it because I'm your wife necessarily, but you're hearing me. Mm-hmm. And then you're seeking that potential validation or correction for me from other people. And instead of necessarily, you may get corrections for me that I need to grow from, but then you're also getting things validated like, oh, okay, I understand this now in a different way because I just wasn't hearing it from my wife. So like, I think it's important to continue to have that conversations like this with your partners, because we grow together and we find ourselves more and we gain more confidence as a team when we have these conversations. But then also trusting people in our inner circle is like huge. I think there's plenty of, you know, kryptonites out there that will take vulnerable moments that you share with them and then go tell other people or use it as a way to fault your character, and you just have to like ignore those people and, you know, move on from them. But there are really good quality people out there that can help position your ego or use your ego in like a good way, right? Almost like your superpower. I just wanted to throw that in there because you may not understand it, but it's right in my head right now. So hopefully it was right for somebody else too. But like, I feel like when we trust each other and can connect on each other, we become stronger, right?
For sure.
But that is all ego.
Get the book, The Alter Ego Effect. Read it, love it. Next time you're listening to music and you feel like you're pumped up, don't just let it be a feeling and pass. Like, why are those lyrics connecting with you? Why is that hook connecting with you? Be cautious. I mean, if it works for you, I hear you, but I don't necessarily agree. Be cautious if you're just listening to something and you're like, yeah, I'm getting fired up because this is like angry music, but the lyrics are like poison, right? Versus find something else, like I'm listening to this hard rock stuff because it's actually from a world like Olympian bodybuilder and his wife. Like, sounds cheesy, I know, but you listen to it and it's actually like hard rock music, but the lyrics of it are like very like competitive and positive for the most part, even though they swear like crazy. It's awesome. Or I like listening to NF or Lecrae, right? They're Christian rappers, but it's not all like woo, you're like cheesy. It's like there's some deep stuff and just awesome lyrics.
Versus like Eminem and Stan, which is like complete garbage.
Exactly. So, and also, if you want my collection,
see, I have my limits.
Right.
Even I have my limits.
If you want my collection, 8 tracks, tracs.com/Brandon T. Middleton. 8 tracks is like got years of these tracks. It's all free of the stuff that I listen to, and that's what I'm doing. I'm channeling the Les Brown or the E.T. or Tony Robbins. Or
you're not. You're channeling the inner Brandon.
Right. Or I'm letting them talk to my alter ego. So it's good stuff. And look for your phone booth moments, whether it's just walking through a doorway or whether
seriously, I gotta tell
putting on glasses or something that just that helps you step into that character that will serve you and the people around you in that environment, in that field of play.
I'm going to buy you a Superman costume, and you have got to put it on before you come in the house one day.
Okay.
Not only do I think you'll be
Max
so much
lose his
cheesier,
mind.
he will just freak to see you like that.
Mm-hmm.
I need it. I need it in my life. I love to see that little boy just light up. He would just, oh my gosh, can you see Peyton's face? She'll do that like weird,
confused.
What is my dad doing? He's never silly. Like, what is going on here? And is this okay? Is my dad okay? Do we need to take you to the doctor? That's what she's gonna think.
Anything in closing, babe?
No, I really didn't know where this was gonna go today because egos can go in so many different directions. But I liked it. It was more centered on like who we are inside and bringing that out.
Yeah, just be careful of the ego, right? Use it to serve you. Don't. If you've got an ego, like a big ego, like. Maybe check your ego, right? There's the term ego stands for edging God out. Well, you could replace God with like your core self, like who you are in your heart and at the core. If your ego is totally disconnected from that, there's probably a problem. So
why can't it be encouraging God on and bringing out like the good, the goodness in you?
I don't know. Never heard that before.
Because ego has a bad rap.
Right, because it's
seen more negatively.
Correct. All right, that's enough about ego.
Goodbye. No, thank you. You're just like.
Thanks for joining us.
Quiet.
I would love to get some conversation on this topic. So in the comments, wherever you're watching or listening to this, DM us or put it in the comments. What's your opinion on egos? What are some examples of maybe egos that you don't like or ways that ego has served you? Just like to get an organic conversation about it.
And I will just end with this. I would much rather have an ego and be happy with myself than not and just be this like quiet little turtle in the corner or something. Just throwing that out there because I know I am definitely, you were saying when you brought this topic up that like you're more the Clark Kent and I'm more the Superman. And I thought like is that supposed to be like a diss? And then I was like, no, that's pretty kick-ass. I'm the one that comes out like, yes!
I default more to Clark Kent, and you default more to Wonder Woman.
Pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm. It's probably why I was attracted to you.
What?
One of the thousands of reasons.
Probably why.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Got to get to work.
Bye.